former 49er, friend of the program, a guy who I once had to manhandle in a hotel lobby in Santa Clara. And Alex, I didn't apologize then. I probably should have. I was a little rough on you, little guy. Alex Boone joins us. Have the bruises healed, Mr. Boone?
Dibs, the next time I see you, I am so coming after you. You're not going to even see me coming. I'm going to tackle you. I get on, and the producer's like, hey, just to let you know, Dibs is talking about how he beat you up at a Super Bowl. I'm like, dude, it's on. It is so on.
First of all, and Alex, thank you for joining us. I cuffed you around in the Hilton lobby, and you took the opportunity to cheap shot me at the Super Bowl in Miami. And don't think I've forgotten that, Boone. You better watch your back, little man.
Can't wait. Hey, by the way, I grew a little bit more since the Iron Man. I'm back up to my fighting weight, like 290, so I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm also close to 290, but that doesn't help me at 5. Doesn't help me as much as it helps you.
He looks more Jerry Ball now. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my God, I'm a little bit more Oompa Loompa than you are. Alex, and you've got your YouTube channel, the O-Line Committee, and we'll promote that again as we get into it. But I know you've just broken down the Niners O-Line. Larry Krueger's with me. We've been talking Niners O-line. What have you made of the way that Brock Purdy's been able to thrive behind this line so far this year?
You know what? I love everything about it, and I think it all starts from Kyle. And this is what we talked about on the show, is that the fact that they can run so many varieties of plays. Brock Purdy has the option of doing so many things, and at the same time, not one single person on that defense is looking at him. We broke down the film, and I go, hey, pause. I want you to count all the eligible receivers. There's like 6. How many of those guys would be starters on other teams? And that's a fullback right there. They're double guarding him. Like, there's just threats everywhere. And then you pose in Trent Williams and what he's able to do for this line and the leadership that he brings and the pass-kicking ability that he has been still be able to bring. It's phenomenal. And then you turn around and say, Christian McCaffrey, we can hand it to you or we can throw it to you. Like, that's why this whole thing is working, and it's working at such a pleasure. And I know that Tom came out yesterday and was like, this is all mediocre and it's crap. And he's not wrong. But at the same time, if I could say that there's one team that continues to show up and show out, it's the Niners. And yeah, people are like quick to say, oh, they went 0-3. You know what? Everybody has a dry spell. But the problem is, the team that you see now on the field, do you really want to play them? You don't. Don't lie to me, because I'm not stupid.
Boone, good to talk to you, man. I got to thank you, because you were the guy who saw me wandering through the Ravens-Niners post-game Super Bowl without an interview and said, hey, man, I'll give you an interview, and I appreciate you for that. And you were my favorite go-to guy in the post-game back in the Harbaugh years. But I got to ask you about Purdy. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, the guy had the elbow surgery, but then his arm at the beginning of the year didn't look all that strong. Then the bye week came. He said he did some lifting and he didn't do any throwing. The last couple weeks, his arm has looked noticeably stronger. When you're watching that film, does that stand out to you at all? And give me your thoughts on just the way he's playing the position. We're talking about a second-year guy.
I think he's doing phenomenal, and I'm so sick of everyone asking, is he an elite quarterback? You know, so many people keep saying, is he elite? Dude, it doesn't matter what you think. He's leading this team on a great journey right now. He's doing a phenomenal job. Yeah, at times they kind of sputtered out, but now they're back to where they were. And I agree with you. I think that pass last week to Brandon Ayuk, the way that he just missiled that to him, it was like, dude, there was no question that nobody was catching that but Brandon. And something like that starts to show up to defenses and goes, hey, how are we going to stop this? This kid, he can sling it now. He can throw it over the top. What are we going to do? Because now we have to worry about so many different parts of the field. We have to cover boundary to boundary, sideline to sideline. The entire thing becomes unescapable. And that's why Brock Purdy can sit back there and go, look at these massive voids and all these amazing players running downfield right now. It's phenomenal.
How much of that is a creation of what Kyle Shanahan does, not only by scheme, but also by personnel? Because you have Kyle Juszczyk, who you can move up into the X receiver spot. You can move Debo into the backfield. McCaffrey can go out wide. How much of an edge does that give to Brock Purdy in terms of his ability to really carve up a defense?
Well, like I said before, the minute that you start moving people around, and we know Kyle's notorious for moving people around pre-snap, you've already got the defense talking about something. And then all of a sudden you start switching people around, like our X is now our running back is now the Z, the F is now the Y. People are just constantly communicating and out of position and trying to figure it out. And that's why it's so fun, because for Brock Purdy, a young player, to sit back there and have to diagnose these defenses, it's a lot. But if the defense is equally trying to diagnose what you're even going to do, then who's really at an advantage here? because Brock knows, hey, this is cover 2. I know my boys are going to be here. Here's my first read. And they're looking at it like, dude, we haven't seen this formation. Where is he going? People start freaking out, and it's fun to watch, and I'm sure they see that. And as a team, they probably just pounce all over that energy.
You know, the play that I loved from last week's game, and I don't know if you diagrammed this thing or broke it down, but it was the first touchdown to McCaffrey where he goes in motion. And then he just slipped through the trash, right through the kind of the O-line, D-line, and he used the line as basically like a pick, and he was wide freaking open. I mean, and the ball, Purdy put it right on his hands, but he could have thrown that thing anywhere. He had all kinds of space between him and the defender.
I'm so glad you brought that play up. That was one of the first plays we broke down. And one of the things we talked about is, you said it, the minute that Christian McCaffrey starts to go in motion, the linebacker over him, if I'm not mistaken, was Levante David. And all of a sudden, or no, maybe it was Devin White, I'm not sure. But he's thinking, what? Oh, this guy's going to run a bubble swing. He's going to run a Texas route. He's going to run some sort of an out route. He's going to try and get me on an island all by myself out here. No. I'm going completely across the formation. And not only that, I'm going to slip through the A gap. You need to go watch the show, because I talked about how I've never seen a guy slip so clean through an A gap while a center is blocking a nose guard. It's just like he vanishes and then shows back up, and then there's 5 yards of separation, and it's almost like, how do you defend that? Because everybody on the other side is running a flood. You got Brandon Ayuk, Kittle. I mean, it's insane to see how much eye candy they draw, and then when they're running across the field, you just see Christian McCaffrey slip out. And that's a lot of Kyle Shanahan's philosophy. I'm just going to beat you. It's like a chess versus checkers match. It's super fun to see.
And how much does that play into the way they use Deebo Samuel as well, in terms of, constantly sending him in motion and at times giving it to him on the jet sweep, on the end around, faking it to him? That sort of eye candy, what does that do to a defense?
Slows them down and makes them start thinking. Safeties have to start watching. The outside perimeter has to start watching. Oh, by the way, there goes Brandon Ayuk on a play action. Like, that's why all of this works so well. And everyone keeps talking about, is Brock Purdy elite? He may be, he may not be, but he is still winning games with an elite team and an elite mindset. Like, you watch them go out, and the offense and defensively, like, they just play off of each other, and they get excited together, and it's like, hey, they're an elite team. That's all that matters. And if you have to play them on Sunday, you should probably look out.
He reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson, just from the standpoint of he plays with urgency. He's a little bit quicker than you think. He's a difficult guy to sack. And then he's accurate. The ball comes out on time. But he's just a great competitor. And whether it's on schedule or off schedule, Alex, I mean, this guy finds a way to beat you. And the play up there last year in Seattle, where he slid for the first down and extended the football forward, was so Russell. And I'm just kind of wondering, you played head-to-head against Russell many, many times, and we all know that Seattle got the upper hand in a lot of those battles. Do you see some of the Russell in Brock at all?
Absolutely, and I think I see it most in his confidence. It's his ability to stand back there and know that he is going to take on this blitz, but he's like, I know my reads. I know what's going to get me out of trouble, and at the same time, having the confidence to throw that ball across the middle as much as he does, it takes a lot. I've seen a lot, and you've seen a lot of young quarterbacks fail because they don't have the confidence to go out there and lead a team. That's why everyone keeps asking, is this guy elite? He must be, because the team is playing phenomenal, and normally if the team's playing well, the quarterback is an elite player. They just understand. He leads them down the field. He's very calm in the pocket, and when he needs to get out, he gets out very effortlessly. So, yeah, I do see a little bit of rust in him in a young age.
Alex Boone here on 95.7 The Game, former 49er. He was a Niner in 2014 when the Seahawks beat his team 19-3. And you know what, Alex? You guys could only muster 185 yards of total offense against Seattle, and then you let them eat turkey on the 50-yard line. Alex, I didn't have the courage to ask you then, but I'm going to ask you now. What the hell happened there?
That was a rough one. I remember walking into that game thinking, God, I feel like just complete garbage. And I know that everybody else did, and trying to muster it up. And this Seattle win, I think I actually had a holding call on Michael Bennett on an outside zone, and I was just livid with myself. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening. But, you talk about a team that, when we used to play Seattle, it was like a different game for everybody. And we would get out there, and the grudge matches we had with their D-line, and then the whole wars that we would break out there were just super fun. And it was sad, though. I remember going into the locker room thinking, I can't believe they're letting them eat food on our field. And it's one of those things where you look back and you're like, dude, we have some great rivalries, though. And it's fun to see it kind of burst back into the scene. with the same San Francisco, Seattle mindset, dude. It's great to be a part of something like that.
You know, the Niners are 2-2-1 all time on Thanksgiving. They played the Harbaugh Bowl in Baltimore against the Ravens, a low-scoring game. The Ravens won 16-6. What's it like playing on Thanksgiving, knowing, you know, the entire league, the entire nation is sitting around watching this game?
I can't lie to you. It's pretty cool, man. It is, and honestly, it's a great feeling. I remember when we were when I was with the Vikings, we went to Detroit, and it was when Aretha Franklin did the longest rendition of, like, the entire 15 minutes that she's singing. My heart's just racing. I'm like, please, hun, I need to get that first hit. I'm dying inside. And she kept going. And it's just one of those things where you know everybody's watching and everyone's all hopped up on tryptophan and super mashed potatoed out. And you're like, dude, this is the game they all want to see. This is what they want to see, the clash of the Titans. And I remember back when the Niners and the Seattle would go, we had so much fun. We used to talk so much. We were so dirty with them and they were dirty with us. And it was just one of those things where it was like, this is the perfect scenario when you talk about looking back on your career when you're like, man, I played in so many Thanksgiving Day games. Everybody got to watch. We didn't win them, but we fought like hell, that's for sure.
You look at this team now, Alex, and you can't help but find similarities, right, between this team and your team in terms of good offensive line play and a physical defense. Do you look at this team and the way they run a lot of 21 personnel and think about the salad days of when Jim Harbaugh was at the helm and you were out there wrecking people?
Are you kidding me? I love it. I love when you see 21 personnel and you see a defense line up like they're going to stop the run and then it turns out to be a play action. Or when you see them in a 21 and they're like, oh, it's for sure a pass, and they just pound it right in your face. Like, it's the whole behind the scenes. What's really going on? How are we going to try and trick them? And it's one of those things that, coming from a Harbaugh G-Row scheme, that was one of their biggest philosophies, was how can we beat them before they get off the bus? If we can have this personnel rise up and be a passing offense or be a running offense and be able to run out of this personnel, like you said, being able to move people in multiple positions, it just puts the defense at such a disadvantage because they're like, we haven't seen this, we don't know what they're doing. And then on the other side, as an offense, you're just laughing because you're like, you're never going to stop us today. This is going to be a great day.
How big of a deal is it to flip spots? I mean, like, John Feliciano right now doesn't know if Aaron Banks is going to go. Because if Aaron Banks is going to go, he's going to play right guard. If Aaron Banks is not going to go, Alex, he's probably going to play left guard. Does that complicate things? I mean, in some guys, is it easier, I guess, to switch from right to left, inside as opposed to outside?
No, it's never really that easy, but at this point in your career as a pro, it's almost expected, you know, and that's one of those things where it's like, hey, as this season goes on, if you can have guys that can step up and play roles like that, 1 week I'm a right guard, next week I'm a left tackle, and then I go to center, you will fare a lot better than a lot of teams, because that's the biggest issue with the NFL, is trying to keep guys healthy. So guys like John Feliciano, who I'm a huge fan of, always was when he was with Buffalo, just a grinder. You can plug him in and have a veteran-style player out there in a moment's notice. It's huge, but at the same time, you talk about going from right to left. It's almost like, hey, can you write with your right hand and your left hand? And you're like, no, you're like, do it. I need you to do it right now. Like, it's one of those things where you have to have a lot of time and prep, and to have a guy like John is huge.
Yeah, Alex Boone joining us here on 95.7 The Game. Alex, you're a big guy, and I'm actually catching up to you, and you should be worried. But as a bigger man, 290 pounds, self-announced, any advice to us aspiring heavy people on how to approach a Thanksgiving meal?
Oh, man, go crazy. I love Thanksgiving. It's a great day to get away with so much highway robbery and just be like, listen, it's Thanksgiving. Nobody's looking. Nobody's watching. I'm not here to stop you. Go crazy, Dibs.
Hey, I'll tell you, I was in the locker room yesterday,
crazy, folks.
And Boone, you'll love this one. I'm asking some of the guys, some of the O-linemen. I was sitting there with Brendel and McKivitz, and I was asking them about, you know, their Thanksgiving deal and how much they eat and this and that. And you're an O-lineman, you're expected to eat a lot. And somehow the conversation got to the 49er O-line dinner, and Brendel starts talking about how McKivitz at the House of Prime Rib put away like 6 fat slabs. Oh. And this is like a tradition that goes way, way back. So I'm kind of wondering, back in your day, who was the monster? I mean, you had Yapati, Big Anthony Davis, Mike. Yourself, Goodwin. Who was do you remember those O-line dinners? And what was the record of Prime Rib and the House of Prime Rib for the Niner O-line back in your day?
No chance you could ever forget an O-line Prime dinner. Those were one of the greatest times of the year. We always brought on guests with us. We voted them on, and they would come hang out with us for the night. It was super fun. But back in our day, it was either me or you potty. Or I should say you potty or I. And it was just, we would crush so much food. It was like the one night where you could go crazy, and it was almost like being at Fogo. Like you flipped the green card, and it just kept coming and coming, and everything was so amazing. But you can get in a lot of trouble because the next day you forget you have to practice. And that's when you're like, dude, that was a bad decision. I shouldn't have eaten that much meat. I will never do that again.
Was Staley a sneaky skinny guy even back then? Because you look at him now, and he's about $194. Was he already kind of trying to aspire to lose that 100 pounds?
No, I think Joe was always just a thin guy that had to eat a lot to stay big. Because when I would always talk to him, I'd be like, dude, you're just so fast. And you're so sleek. And he was like, well, I'm naturally a runner. And he told me about how he held the record for the 4x1 in Michigan. He still has the record to this day. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, well, I was a tight end, and they moved me to left tackle. And I was like, oh, you're the guy that has to eat to keep it on. I got it. Luckiest life in the world. Like, you're just eating everything you want and still looking fabulous. Love the guy to death. Joe, miss you.
Hey, if the Niners, there's the talk that they may have to go with either a practice squad guy. Hey, they just signed a guy named Ben Barch off Jacksonville's practice squad, and there's a chance that he might go in this game. How much time does an offensive lineman need to get ready to play a game? I mean, could you walk into a new organization and play, on a Wednesday and play on Sunday?
I think the question is, do you have to? And if you do, then you better. I mean, that's one of the things that when you go into it, it's kind of like everybody knows the situation. They know you're probably not going to gain a lot of knowledge and know a lot. So they're like, I'll protect you. And at the same time, you just hope it doesn't come to that.
Alex, tell us about the O-line committee and what the O-line committee eating fest is like.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. We have a lot of fun. We just break down offenses all week. We talk about some of the stuff that we like around the NFL. We actually just did one of our first tributes to Tyron Smith. Been playing 13 years, still going at an elite level. Like, it's really just a time for us to go on and talk about what we love about what's going on around the NFL. We break down a lot of plays, like what's cool, what's new. The Niners are always a big hit because Kyle is just always scheming stuff up. And at the same time, we talk about what's going wrong, what teams could do to fix things, what we think as players, and people get to ask us silly questions, and we give real answers. And that's why we're on YouTube, because you know me, guys. I get myself in a lot of trouble. But it's the truth, so I can't really be in that much trouble.
No doubt. And I'm looking at pictures of you right now from the O-line committee on YouTube, and you're looking pretty slender, Alex. You may want to bulk up before you and I happen to, clash again.
Easy. Listen, no, none of that. I better see you at the Super Bowl this year, though, Dibs.
Dude, no doubt. Don't be ducking me like you have before now, Boone.
I won't be. I promise. I'll see you in Detroit.
Alex Boone.
Happy Thanksgiving to all the Boones out there. Thanks, Alex.
Dude, happy Thanksgiving, guys. Appreciate you.
Love him. My guy, Alex Boone, former 49er. Catch the O-line committee on YouTube, and I'm looking at their videos right now, and they are breaking it down.